Hail, Commanders Nation. Adam Peters just lit a bomb off in Ashburn, and if you are not locked in right now, you are already missing it. Jeremiah Love, the name that has the entire league watching Washington, Bill Barnwell from ESPN, and Vinny Iyer from the Sporting News both landed on the same conclusion independently this week. The Commanders are ready to move up to number 3 in the draft and lock up the most complete and explosive running back in this entire class. And if that happens, fam, put him next to Jaden Daniels, and what you get is an offense that no defensive coordinator in the NFC can solve cleanly. We're talking about something that becomes flat out unguardable. But that is not the only thing Peters is moving on right now, because while Washington is calculating how much capital Love is worth, a proposal dropped this week out of Pittsburgh, one that Ralph Vacchiano of Fox Sports put on the table, and if it goes through, it turns this roster into one of the most terrifying in the entire league. And in the middle of all that noise, all those trades and picks, and hundreds of millions of dollars flying around, Adam Peters did something nobody saw coming this week. He stopped. He took a breath, and he spoke with genuine emotion about a player who has been the soul of this franchise for years while nobody was paying attention. A decision that tells you more about the kind of organization Peters is building than any move he could make on the open market. Burgundy and Gold, hit that like button right now if you trust the Adam Peters process, and subscribe to be part of the real Commanders Nation, because what is coming in this video changes everything about the draft picture in Washington. Two respected analysts, one from ESPN and one from the Sporting News, independently landed on the same conclusion this week. The Commanders should or will trade up to number 3 in the draft to lock in Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame. Bill Barnwell of ESPN lays it out clearly. Peters strikes a deal with Arizona, moving from 7 to 3, giving up that pick plus a 2027 second-rounder. Vinny Iyer of the Sporting News goes one step further and flat out predicts it, arguing that Washington has made it no secret they love Love, and that if they don't move up, the Titans at 4 or the Giants at 5 are going to swipe him right in front of their eyes. And look, you have to understand the tactical picture here. Rachaad White is already in the building as a complimentary option. Love wouldn't come here to be anybody's compliment. Love would come here to be the engine, the workhorse, the weapon that Jaden Daniels needs to make this offense completely unguardable. Think about it this way. Jaden Daniels is already a legitimate threat as a runner. He's one of the most elusive quarterbacks in the entire league. Now you put Jeremiah Love next to him, and Love is not just a power back. He's a complete weapon in space. He's got receiver-level hands, vision between the tackles, and explosive speed in the open field. You know what that does to a defensive coordinator? It breaks them mentally, because you cannot account for Daniels on the ground and Love in the passing game with the same personnel package. If you load the box to stop the run, Love destroys you in coverage. If you bring the safety down, Daniels goes over the top to Terry McLaurin. There is no clean answer, and precisely that is what makes an offense elite. But here's the hard part, and we have to be honest about it. Trading from 7 to 3 costs a fortune in this league. It's not just the 7 pick, it's a 2027 second rounder and what's shaping up to be a very deep class. Peters built this roster by being strategic with his assets. He didn't waste capital chasing names or nostalgia. Every move had a logic, and this one feels different, more emotional, more of a leap of faith. Look, I could be wrong, but I don't think Peters actually pulls this trigger. Not because he doesn't love Love, but because the cost of guaranteeing a player at a historically non-premium position in the top 3 is too steep for someone with his philosophy. Washington doesn't have a second-round pick this year. They're already short on capital. Giving up the 7 plus a 2027 second to move up only 4 spots is a massive, massive ask for a running back, no matter how special he is. Now, if Love falls to 7, that is an entirely different universe. In that scenario, I think Peters hits the button without a second thought. Because at 7, with no extra cost, Love is simply the best player available and the perfect piece for this system. The problem is, the Tennessee Titans exist and the New York Giants exist. Both teams have real backfield needs. The Titans are in rebuild mode, but a generational talent like Love might be too tempting to pass on. The Giants have been searching for an impact runner for years, and if either of them grabs him before Washington's pick, the Commanders are left watching the guy who could have been Jaden Daniels' perfect running mate walk out the door. That's the real tension of this draft, not the abstract value of picks. It's the question of how much you're willing to pay to avoid that regret on draft night. And fam, if Love ends up in burgundy and gold, whether it's at 3 or at 7, that offense is going to be a problem for the entire NFC for the next 5 years. A legitimate nightmare scenario for every defensive coordinator in the conference. Speaking of weapons for Jaden Daniels, Ralph Vacchiano over at Fox Sports has another idea that deserves serious attention. He's proposing that the Commanders use a 2026 third-rounder and a 2027 fifth-rounder to bring DK Metcalf over from Pittsburgh. And this is where it gets genuinely interesting from a football standpoint. Metcalf had a 2025 season that a lot of people called disappointing. 59 catches, 850 yards, 6 touchdowns. But when you put that in context, those numbers aren't that far off from his historical averages. The real problem wasn't Metcalf, it was Aaron Rodgers, a 40-year-old quarterback trying to connect with a vertical route runner when the deep ball just isn't what it used to be. The chemistry never developed, and that distorted everything Metcalf put up in Pittsburgh. Now imagine him with Daniels, a 25-year-old quarterback with one of the most precise and powerful arms of his generation, with the mobility to extend plays and give Metcalf time to shake coverage, with the football intelligence to find the deep ball the moment the safety rotates toward the box. That changes everything. The combination of McLaurin and Metcalf would be one of the elite wide receiver duos in the entire league. McLaurin does everything: precision routes, yards after catch, winning in tight coverage. Metcalf does what very few receivers in NFL history have been able to do. He physically dominates the cornerback across from him. He wins the 50-50 ball, and he turns a 5-yard catch into a 40-yard gain because nobody on the defense can bring him down in the open field. The price, a third in 2026 and a fifth in 2027, is surprisingly low for a player of that caliber. Pittsburgh paid a second-round pick to acquire him. If they're genuinely entering rebuild mode, or if Rodgers ends up walking away, they might actually accept that. The catch, and it's a big catch, is the contract. 3 years and over $100 million remaining for a roster that already has significant commitments. That's a long-term bet that requires real conviction. But bro, if Peters can make that money work and this offense ends up being Daniels, McLaurin, Metcalf, and Love, the entire NFC East is going to need collective therapy. That is not an overstatement. In the middle of all these conversations about trades and blockbuster moves, Adam Peters took a moment this week to talk about something that doesn't generate headlines, but absolutely defines the character of a winning team. Jeremy Reeves just signed an extension that keeps him in Ashburn through the 2028 offseason, and Peters didn't announce it with cold corporate language. He did it with genuine emotion. He's a cornerstone of our team. He embodies everything we want to be. His love of the game, his leadership, his love for his teammates, the way he plays, everything he does in life. He's special. He's a true commander. And that is exactly what Jeremy Reeves is. Undrafted, cut by Philadelphia, bouncing back and forth between the practice squad and the active roster in Washington until he found his niche on special teams, dominated it at near all-pro level, and became one of the most beloved players in the locker room and in the stands. Now, with Nick Cross joining the secondary and the possibility of Peters using the 7 pick on Ohio State's Caleb Downs, Reeves could slide down the depth chart at safety, but his value on special teams is irreplaceable. Some players win you games with touchdowns. Other players save you games by controlling field position and making the tackles that nobody else wants to make. Reeves is the second kind, and the teams that win championships need both. If he gets through the final 2 years of his deal healthy, he'll have been with this franchise for nearly a decade, starting as nobody, finishing as an institution. That is the kind of story that gives a team a soul. And in Washington, where the soul has been under reconstruction for just as long as the roster, Reeves is one of the few who survived all of it and came out bigger on the other side. 2 analysts are predicting Peters moves up to number 3 in the draft. An elite receiver could be coming from Pittsburgh for a surprisingly low price. And the man who defines the spirit of this locker room just locked in 2 more years in burgundy and gold. If this doesn't have you fired up about what's coming, fam, I don't know what else to give you. The draft is 2 weeks away. 2 weeks. And the question every single person in the DMV is asking right now is whether Adam Peters is going to play it safe or whether he's going to make the move that takes this offense to a completely different level. Tell me down below, do you trade up to 3 for Love, or do you trust he falls to 7? I want to read every single take. And if this video opened your eyes even a little, you already know what to do. Raise hail. Let's go, Commanders.